A big push by the Biden administration to address flying frustrations ahead of the busy summer travel season. Now, the government is now proposing airlines compensating passengers for some canceled and delayed flights. Diane Kinghall joins us now with more on that. And Diane, we were just hearing from the president in the last hour and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
Yep.
What have we learned?
Oh, that's right. All right. So the Biden administration is coming down on the airline industry today. The Department of Transportation says it wants to issue new rules to require carriers to compensate travelers for things like hotels, meals, and rebooking travel when flights are delayed or canceled for 3 hours or more. The caveat being that it has to be an issue that is the airline's fault. Earlier today, President Biden held a press conference about the proposals and had this to say. Let's listen.
Your time matters. Impact on your life matters. Later this year, my administration will propose a historic new rule that will make it mandatory, not voluntary, but mandatory for all U.S. airlines to compensate you with meals, hotels, taxis, ride shares, and rebooking fees, and cash, miles, and/or travel vouchers whenever they're the ones to blame.
So the administration has beefed up its Department of Transportation customer service page, if you will, flightrights.gov, to show which carriers exercise some of the practices it wants to mandate, because some of these carriers, many actually do these practices, such as offering rebooking on their airline, though, covering hotel stays and or vouchers to cover meals, but none offer cash compensation for delays. So it seems that a lot of this, which is done in spirit, now the government is trying to regulate.
Yeah, so, I mean, that begs the question, why is the administration trying to step in now? What about the timing of all this?
Well, Akiko, you'll recall that during the president's State of the Union address earlier this year, he talked about junk fees. And among those were fees within the airline industry, such as those family fees. And he wanted transparency within that sector of family seating, whereas families would get charged for sitting apart. And now the idea is that more families won't have to suffer and deal with those kind of fees. A few airlines have taken note and made changes. And you're looking at some of the airline stocks right there on the board right now. It's not having really an impact on most of the shares of these companies. We have some other news within the airline industry that seems to be affecting those. So I think what that has to do with is really it doesn't change the order of operations or the order of business for how many of these airlines operate. A lot of these already offer things like this in principle. So clearly the administration trying to codify this, but also clearly with President Biden announcing that he's up for re-election, it's definitely to court more favor with voters.
All right, Diane Kinghall, thanks so much for
that
update.